What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. Boxing Scenes reporting Mikey Garcia is weighing several offers from Eddie Hearn, DAZN, Al Heyman and the PBC, Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy, Bob Arum and Top Rank have all offered Mikey Garcia contract offers to sign with them. So we'll see how it plays out. But it's said that he's seriously considering the offer from Eddie Hearn, DAZN. He's saying that offer is going to be hard to pass up. So if based on that article, it's looking like DAZN is the front runner. So if that's the case, man, Mikey Garcia, he's campaigning at 147, 140, and 135, the lightweight, junior welterweight, and welterweight divisions. If he signs with Eddie Hearn and DAZN, that probably means that he's going back down to 140. Possibly could get the winner of Josh Taylor and Regis Prograis. If it's Josh Taylor, maybe they can make a fight in New York or LA. Now, if he wants to fight, if Regis Prograis win that fight, they can have a big fight down in Texas or down in LA. Maybe Texas, maybe you can have a fight in San Antonio or Dallas or Houston, or you can have a fight in LA. Regis Prograis is from Louisiana, Lafayette, Louisiana, so that'll be a good fight on the Gulf Coast. So that could be a potential matchup. But outside of that, it's not really any big fights at 140 with DAZN, actually. That would probably be the only big fight. Maybe he'll have a couple of, maybe have like a tune-up fight on DAZN, and then he'll fight the winner of that, man. But outside of that, man, it's not a huge stable of fighters at 140 on DAZN. You look at Jose Ramirez, he's with Top Rank. You look at the other contenders at 140. A lot of them are with Top Rank in ESPN. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays out, man. It's not a deep stable, actually. Actually, it's not, as far as name recognition, those are the three fighters at 140. You got Josh Taylor, you got Regis Prograis, and you got Jose Ramirez. So you got two with DAZN, and you got one with ESPN. And outside of that, it's not really a big name at 140. So if he decides to stay at 147, it's obviously the PBC will be the place for him to continue to working with Al Heyman. They've got a deep stable. He just, as you know, he had a successful fight with Errol Spence, not in the ring, but outside the ring. The fight did big numbers, drew a huge crowd at AT&T Stadium. So that would be something he could look at. You still got Sean Porter there, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia. You got Udonis Ugas. You got a real deep stable at the welterweight division, man. You got a real deep stable there, man, that he can fight there. So you would think if he wants to campaign at 147, that would be the place to be, is PBC and Al Heyman. Now, if I think one thing that might be playing into this, I think if Al Heyman and them can offer him a pay-per-view fight with Danny Garcia, he might be willing to stay with the PBC and work with them, man. So if they can offer him a big pay-per-view fight, like I said, with Danny Garcia, similar to the money that he made fighting Errol Spence, I think he probably would seriously consider staying with the PBC. But it remains to be seen if they are willing to do that. We've kind of heard the last couple of months that Danny Garcia and Mikey Garcia's names linked up as a potential fight. They even had a date set up. I think it was August 31st. At LA in the Staples Center, a big, huge fight down there that was going to be on pay-per-view, but for whatever reason that fell through. They talked to Mikey Garcia shortly after that. He said he had not got an offer for that fight, so I don't know if that was just rumor or what, but they've been linked up for the last couple of months, Danny Garcia versus Mikey Garcia. So we'll see if that fight takes place. So that'll be, so if he wants, if I'm Al Heyman, that's the biggest fight that he can get. If he wants, Mikey Garcia, as I always stated since he came back from that 2 years of hiatus when he was in a legal battle with Top Rank, that he's always looking for the big fights. And that's the biggest fight out there for him, Danny Garcia. That's a bigger fight than fighting the winner of Regis Prograis or Josh Taylor. It's a bigger money fight fighting Danny Garcia. So we'll see what happens. You got Top Rank and Bob Arum. I think they will. To me, man, if I'm him, I'll be looking to stay with the PBC if I can get the big money fight with Danny Garcia. My number 2 option would be Top Rank and Al Heyman. and Bob Arum. I'll be looking at that fight because you got a fight potentially set up with Vasily Lomachenko and a fight set up with Terrence Crawford. That's 2 big money pay-per-view fights right there. Really, you could make an argument they might be in a better position than PBC. That's 2 pay-per-view fights that he can have with ESPN. He only can have 1 pay-per-view fight with And right now with PBC, that's with Danny Garcia. Now, if he beats Danny Garcia, he could potentially have a pay-per-view fight with Manny Pacquiao. So those two be at the top of my list, ESPN and PBC. Those going to offer you the highest profile, the biggest fight that he's been wanting since he came back from the 2-year absence from boxing. We'll see what happens, man. I think Oscar De La Hoya has offered him a deal too. Now, Oscar De La Hoya doesn't really have a deep stable at 147 either. He's got a rising prospect in Virgil Ortiz, but they have the same trainer in Robert Garcia, and they train in the same gym, so that fight's not going to happen no time soon or any time in the future, as long as they're both being trained by Robert Garcia. So, obviously Robert Garcia is Mikey's brother, so that they're going to, that's not going to happen. And he's currently training Virgil Ortiz. So they don't. Bottom line is Golden Boy doesn't have a deep stable at a 147 or a 140. They don't have a big fight at either one of those divisions. So for me, looking on the outside, looking in, man, the two best options for Mikey Garcia will be the PBC if he can get the Danny Garcia fight, and then be guaranteed if he beats Danny fighting Manny Pacquiao, that'll be 2 back-to-back pay-per-views, or Top Rank, which he can maybe have a fight at a tune-up fight and then maybe go down to 135. Maybe have a tune-up fight at 140, try to lose the weight gradually, and then go back down to 135 and fight a pay-per-view with Lomachenko. If he's successful with Lomachenko, then possibly move back up to fight a Terrence Crawford in another pay-per-view. So those would be the 2 best options I ask. Those would be the 2 best options for Mikey Garcia. Now, like I said, it said in this article that the article stating that the offer from DAZN is going to be hard to turn down. So Eddie Hearn must have rolled up the Brinks truck to the front yard of Mikey Garcia and must have offered a lot of money for Mikey Garcia, and it's going to be hard for him to turn down. So, but if he does sign with DAZN, look for him to campaign at 140 and look for him to be set up with the winner of Josh Taylor and Regis Prograis, which to me is not a big fight. It's going to be on DAZN, and it's not he's going to get paid handsomely, but it's not a big fight as far as boxing fans. A lot of casual fans won't be tuning in for that fight. A lot of people don't even have the DAZN app. A lot of them wouldn't be tuning in and wouldn't be able to see that fight. So that would be less eyeballs on that fight. It'd be a big fight, it'd be a significant fight, because he'd be fighting for 140 supremacy, but it would not be a big major fight that would capture the public attention, like a fight with a Danny Garcia on pay-per-view, or a fight with Vasily Lomachenko on pay-per-view, or even a fight with Terrence Crawford on pay-per-view. So we'll see how it plays out, man. We'll see what decision he'll make in the coming days. He's been very, very low-key right now. He hasn't been really talking about it. You've been wondering about what Mikey Garcia is doing, what's the plans for him for his next fight, and now you're hearing that he's winning a lot of offers. He got to make a big decision for him and his team and his career. So we'll see how it plays out. This is JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I holla.